Why today? Why did the Spider-Verse hit the fan today? I mean, Haley Steinfeld is actually on set as Kate Bishop, and we've all seen her, and yet Marvel still won't any of the major trades confirm that she's playing Kate Bishop. So why today is all this Spider-Man 3 Spider-Verse news leaking? Well, in my discussions with my sources, I found out that even though I had been told that the Tobey Maguire deal had been completed, in fact, while it's very close, that guy still hasn't signed his deal. So I suspect that this is all in an effort to force him to sign, because now Spider-Man 3 is filming as we speak, although I've also heard now that he doesn't need to show up in the film until the third act. So, don't worry, we're going to go over all the details and all the information. You're going to get a nice, complete picture of where Spider-Man 3 stands right now. But for the purposes of Tobey Maguire, that's why his deal isn't just signed just yet. I do believe the villains show up earlier in the film, which we're going to discuss. So, but I think the window is closing to get the deal signed. So I think this is a way to put pressure on him, saying, now if you don't do it, everyone's going to hate you. Remember, Tobey Maguire not only wants to get paid, but he would like to have some good, solid scenes outside of the mask. He doesn't want to just swing by, because, his career, he doesn't really have one right now. So I think that this would be a good opportunity for him to try and have a comeback. And I'm all for that. I think he should sign. It's incredible. I mean, I think he feels like, I think he feels like the movie Spider-Man 3, if it's a Spider-Verse film, he's in the power position. But I think now that pretty much everybody else, it's been, I'm hearing it from my sources. I'm starting to see it come out from a lot of other places. Now it would look like Tobey Maguire is the one who's holding up the party. So pretty shrewd. All right, so how on earth do you top Avengers Endgame? How about with multiple Earths? So get ready for some tea. So much is happening. I'm going to try and organize it as best I can, including how well planned out this is from Feige's perspective, and how he's been laying the groundwork for it for quite some time, and why. And then also what this means for DC's Flashpoint. It ain't good. God damn it. All right, so anyway, on September 25th, I was the first to report to you that Feige was in talks with Sony to bring back Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield for the MCU. And I've been bringing you updates on those negotiations for months now. By the way, Andrew Garfield has signed, I've heard. And I've taken a lot of flack on Twitter from people who are reluctant to believe it, or reluctant to believe me. But as you can see, I was right. I was right all along. And as I said, I have more information for you that I just got today. So I just found out from my source, and I'm starting to see trickle out in other places too, that Kirsten Dunst's Mary Jane is definitely coming back. I'm so happy about this. And that Emma Stone is in talks. Although, considering that she returned for Zombieland 2 and The Croods 2, I think she'll likely do it. I know that she's pregnant in real life, but that could either be written in or just handled with VFX, like Gal Gadot did for additional photography for Wonder Woman. She shot, additional scenes when pregnant, and they just, fixed it with, VFX in post. Now, some of you have also been saying, hey, wait a minute, Grace, aren't these characters dead? How are they going to show up in Spider-Man 3? Well, it's the multiverse. It fixes all problems. Because they could just come from an alternate reality, alternate reality. Who says they come from the movies that you remember, where the cast is the same, but these characters just simply didn't die. I mean, Electro, Jamie Foxx says he's going to have a new look, which is also explained by a multiverse. This isn't the specific multiverse where Andrew Garfield fought a blue Electro. This is another one where Andrew Garfield fought a better looking Electro. I mean, hey, it works. Here, Gwen Stacy's still alive. Maybe Andrew Garfield will run into a different Gwen Stacy from a different reality. Maybe his Gwen Stacy's still dead. That'll pull on the old heartstrings, right? And then he sees a Gwen Stacy from somewhere else, and he's like, oh my gosh. Similar, there's a lot of mirroring of Spider-Verse, which we're going to discuss in just a moment. And then also, another multiverse where Peter Parker and Doc Ock grew older together. And on that note, age-wise, Spider-Man 3 is shaping up to be truly generational, while Tobey and Andrew are pretty close. But, I think stuff could be done writing-wise and makeup-wise to separate them a little bit. But I think it'll be really cool to see that as well. So let's break it all down. This is so exciting. So, It really is. You know, some people are saying it reads like fan fiction, but I mean, again, how are you going to top Endgame? I mean, this is how you do it. I think this is how you do it. All right, so for Feige, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are part of a larger play, which I outlined in that September 25th video, link below, with lots of other goodies, which Feige is working on. So over the course of the 3-part story, WandaVision to Spider-Man 3 to Doctor Strange 2, and remember, Thanos, going up against Thanos, was a 2-part story. So this is an even bigger, an even more epic adventure. And there will be Marvel cameos galore, where any actor who played a Marvel character in any movie will be eligible to appear. And I outlined in that video on September 25th some of the ones that Feige is working on. So exciting. And including, by the way, actors who were almost cast in the roles. I was able to confirm with my sources that Tom Cruise did have talks with Kevin Feige. I don't know if, I can't confirm as to whether or not they decided to move forward, but Kevin Feige has at least discussed with people the idea of doing a multiverse where the Avengers are the actors who had almost got the roles in real life, which is like a super cool idea. Emily Blunt was reported as being in talks with Marvel, and as I recently told you, Clea was a role that was offered to Lady Gaga, and she turned it down. So, you know, remember, Emily Blunt almost played Black Widow. In fact, she was cast in the role but had to drop out because of a scheduling conflict with Gulliver's Travels. Oh, Hollywood can be a cruel business sometimes. But anyway, again, Feige needs to compete with that end battle sequence in Endgame. How can he top that with all these cameos? So as for Spider-Man 3, it's going to clearly be a Spider-Verse story. And when Jamie Foxx's Electro was confirmed in early October, because I'd heard, you know, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were coming back. But then when Jamie Foxx it was reported that he was returning, suddenly the villains are in the mix. And I speculated, as others did at that time, that Spider-Man 3 will use the multiverse as a shortcut to form the Sinister Six. They've been trying to do the Sinister Six for so long, but the franchises would sputter out before they got to them. Amazing Spider-Man got close. So this Sinister Six, though, would be made up of villains from all 3 different Spider-Man franchises. It's a great idea. So that, and I mean, it's like cheating that we'll allow, because I think it makes sense from a multiverse perspective. So that means Spider-Man 3 will feature all the Spider-Men, their villains, and their love interests. Now, understandably, some of you are very concerned about what this might mean for screen time for Tom Holland and Zendaya. Isn't this movie too crowded? Well, as I said at the beginning of this video, I'm now hearing that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, and therefore presumably Kirsten Dunst and Emma Stone, wouldn't show up until the 3rd act. So conceivably, Tom Holland, with Zendaya's help, will find himself fighting a multiverse Sinister Six, and then decide what better way to defeat those villains than to enlist the Spideys who know them best. I mean, narratively, that works out really, really well, while still allowing Tom Holland and Zendaya to have the most screen time. I think that's a really good way to do it. I think Tom Holland and Zendaya are not only great actors, but they're classy people. I think that they will love to stand alongside Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Kirsten Dunst and Emma Stone. I think it's really, really a great idea. I'm very happy for all of them, in fact. All right, so now let's move on to just how well this has been planned out. So clearly, Kevin Feige saw Spider-Verse and liked what he saw, which might be why he's decided to introduce the multiverse concept through the Spider-Man movies, right? You're like, why would you give this toy to Sony? And it's like, well, because technically, you know, Sony is the one who came up with it, introduced it so well. They won a freaking Oscar for it. Now, Spider-Verse came out in 2018, and then 1 year later, the multiverse was first seriously mentioned in the MCU in Far From Home by Mysterio. Now, some of you might be like, well, that was just a year apart, Grace. Well, remember, Kevin Feige is very aware what they're doing in the Spider-Man camp. You know, he advises them. So, you know, Spider-Verse was coming into fruition first, so that would have come across Kevin Feige's desk either before or in the early stages of putting together Far From Home. All right, so anyway, then at the beginning of this year, February 5th, 2020, it was reported that Sam Raimi was in talks to direct the 3rd chapter of this multiverse saga, Doctor Strange 2, and he ultimately did sign that deal. And as I've reported to you, a few Spider-Men will be showing up in Doctor Strange 2. They'll be swinging through to the 3rd chapter of this story. Now, at the time, everyone wondered how Kevin Feige got his first big name established director to join the MCU. In the past, he's worked with up-and-coming directors, or directors that he's straight up discovered. And so I think Kevin Feige probably told Sam Raimi, hey, I'm bringing back your most iconic career-defining franchise. Would you like to be involved? And actually direct some of those actors once again. I think that's very exciting. That makes, Tobey Maguire better freaking sign that deal. All right, so anyway, sorry, Evil Dead fans, by the way. I think Evil Dead is certainly the second most career-defining franchise of Sam Raimi's career, and how nice for him that he has two. But I think Spider-Man's definitely the crown jewel. And then now maybe Doctor Strange. All right, so as for DC, where does this leave Flashpoint? It's not good. Spider-Man 3 and Doctor Strange 2 are filming right now, and WandaVision comes out January 15th. Meanwhile, Flashpoint, set for June 2022, which will debut 3 months after Kevin Feige has completed his 3-part multiverse saga. I hear Flashpoint might even be delayed, as it's using the same production resources as Fantastic Beasts 3, including the same sound stages, which itself is taking longer to film due to having to swap out Johnny Depp. So, I'm genuinely curious. Would you even continue with Flashpoint at this point? I don't know if I would, because it's going to seem so ridiculous to have DC being like, you ready to go through this all again? After everyone's already lost their collective minds over the course of a year, because Kevin Feige's multiverse story is starting in January of 2021 with WandaVision. So anyway, how does Spider-Man 3 sound to you? Obviously, it sounds amazing. And like I told you, wait until you see what Feige has planned for Doctor Strange 2. And I'm wondering, because now that I've heard this from my source, who's going to show up in WandaVision when she rips open the multiverse in the grand finale? Well, we've all suspected that Pietro was probably going to run in there, Quicksilver, but let's see who else shows up. All right, share your thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.